Hello, everyone. Larry Dillon from Scalable Insights Podcast, bringing you people and ideas to help you grow and scale your business. So today we have with us Jeff, the producer. Jeff, how are you?
Very good, thank you. How about you?
Mic is on. Very good.
Yep.
You're off to a good start.
When
Last podcast, you were a little
when you threatened to fire me, I was like, I
Yes.
gotta get my
on a
act
daily
together.
basis. You got to keep them on their toes, right?
Exactly.
So, I wanted to have this podcast because I've been doing this for 34 years, coaching companies, meeting with companies, engaging with companies. I don't know how many trade shows I've been to all over the world. I've been, I remember going to like CBITS, which used to be 1 million attendees. It was a big technology conference in Europe, and hundreds and hundreds of conferences, meeting the most successful entrepreneurs in their industry, also meeting VPs and C-level folks of publicly held companies that are fast growing, and all B2B, and the consistent ideas about how to grow that business and how to scale their business. It's just the messaging is so consistent. And they all know that there's different aspects of the business. The marketing has got to be in line. The messaging has to be in line. The product has to be awesome. There's so many components to this that companies get right. There's, they'll hire, good ad agencies, good marketing agencies. They've got great marketing people inside. And it kind of breaks down when you consistently hear from marketing folks, hey, we generate these marketing-based leads. We give them to the sales team, and the sales team says the leads suck. And the marketing folks say the salespeople suck. So there's a problem there where they're generating these leads, and then they're given directly to the sales team. And that's an issue. There's a lot of research, by the way, you should know this, that indicates, and our own research indicates that as well, that 78% of marketing-generated leads are either mishandled or completely dropped. Let me repeat, 78% of marketing-generated leads. So you're spending all this money on marketing. Let's say you're a $50 million company, got a $3 million budget for marketing campaigns, you generate all these leads. 75% of those leads that are given to your sales team are either dropped or mishandled. That's a huge problem. And a lot of times companies don't know how to deal with that. The other component of the most successful companies in the B2B space is prospecting. And the most successful companies separate sales from the prospecting. They even separate sales from the lead nurturing process. You should Google lead nurturing, and there's so much research on nurtured leads tend to close faster. They tend to close for more money. They tend to be more profitable. Yet most companies still don't have a formal lead nurturing process in place. And handing them off to the sales reps is not lead nurturing, because the sales reps are busy with other stuff. They're terrible at lead nurturing. So if you don't have something in between, and that usually falls into the category of an inside sales team that can nurture leads, nurture prospects. So there are two things. So just dumping leads into the sales team, or too often I see companies relying on the sales team to do prospecting. Now, in the old days, there were sales reps. A lot of sales reps would prospect and sell. And I talked to so many companies and so many business leaders that are like, yeah, in the old days, they would prospect, they would sell. That's fading, gone. And the amount of effort that it takes to get sales reps to also prospect is probably not worth it. And also add to that the fact that sales reps are probably not the best people to prospect. Just makes it even more difficult. And the reason that I'm talking about this, I met with someone the other day, again, successful company. Their growth is kind of stalling, and they know it's because the prospecting efforts have been generally declining in the last 10 years. Do not have an inside sales team, are trying to get the sales reps to do it, but with no success at all. So prospecting has got to be part of your strategy if you really want to scale your business. It's a different mindset. It's a different person. It's a different skill set. And most sales reps are really terrible and hate prospecting. And so I don't know why we're trying to force these folks into doing it when they, they're going to fib. They're going to try to weasel out of it. They're going to, give you a million excuses. It's just a lot of effort for no return on investment. So you want to seriously think about splitting that up. And I can tell you that the most successful companies that I've seen that have been able to scale their business have a killer inside sales team. The advantage is that it ain't easy. What's easy is paying for Google ads, paying someone to do SEO for you. The problem with that is do yourself a favor. Go to Google and Google your industry. Google, if you sell IT services, Google IT services in whatever markets you serve. Google, if you sell HR services or payroll services or accounting services or whatever it is that you sell, do yourself a favor and Google it and see. What I saw was all these different rabbit holes on the first page of search engine results where there's 30 of your competitors, 40 of your competitors, 50 of your competitors, 6, 7, 8 full, paid ads on the first page of search engine results, the little map with like a preview of 3, click here for more, and then it drops down to like 20 or 30 companies in your market area. It's super crowded, super crowded. Publish as much as you want on your website. Have a ton of content on there, but the math is against you. The math literally is against you. I don't care how much content you have on there. You're in this battle, this losing battle with, 30, 40, 50 other companies that are doing exactly the same thing because this is what, everybody's like, you gotta have content on your website. Yeah, well, at this point, everybody's doing it. So it's not a differentiator. But what I still find that baffles me is that most companies still believe that they can get their sales reps to prospect. And the reality is that if you want to get outside of your wake, if you want to grow your business, scale your business beyond what you're doing now, there's no easy solution. And listen, trying some marketing strategy for a quarter or 2 quarters or 3 quarters, there's huge probability you're not going to have success because marketing strategies take a year, 2 years, 3 years to get up to full speed. There's nothing that you can do that's instantly going to turn on the water spigot. But one thing that 100% works is that if you prospect in a consistent way to the right audience over and over and over again, and I'm talking about 4 times in a year, 4 touches in a year, 4 voicemails, 4 emails, If you do that over the course of the year, 100% of the time that works. Because if you're reaching out to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever the number is, companies, as long as it's north of like 1,000, 2,000 companies, you're going to catch people at the right time. You're going to engage them. You're going to keep in touch with them, even if you never talk to them. We get deals every single month from people we've just been leaving voicemail and sending an email to for years. And I know what's going to happen. I can talk to my reps. They're going to tell me, yeah, I just closed a deal. The guy said, I never spoke to you, but you're the most consistent and professional salesperson I've ever met. You've been leaving me voicemail and email for the last 2 years. Never talked to him. I'm so impressed with your salesmanship. I'm going to go ahead and use your product. Every single month. And what did it take? I don't know, 8 30-second voicemails, 8 emails. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, if you leave one voicemail and one email and then just give up, you're not going to get much. It's just not going to happen. Leave 2. Maybe you'll start to get some. 3, starting to get into the ballpark. But 4, you've just separated yourself from the competition. It takes a lot of effort to do that. And you've got 2 choices. You can either outsource this inside sales process, prospecting process, or bring it in-house. If you want to bring it in-house, the key is you got to have like a full-time inside sales manager. You just hiring somebody as an inside salesperson, that's going to be a 95, 98% failure rate. You're just going to wind up spending $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month for, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months, and then realize they're not doing anything. Even a decent inside sales rep that's unmanaged is going to be low productivity. I have spoken to more business leaders who have tried and failed numerous times at getting an inside salesperson by a factor of probably 10. Very few, and in fact, I've only met 10 self-motivated inside sales reps, and they're taken. They're taken. They're very rare. It takes a rare bird that can deal with the rejection, and it's a difficult job. And what you need is you need somebody, that sales manager, that's going to continually motivate that person. Also reward them when they really put a good effort in. The problem with having an inside salesperson work for you alone is, to begin with, 1 of 2 things are going to happen. Let's say they're really motivated. They come out of the chute. They're making a bunch of calls. It takes a long time to get sorry, I'm just taking a note here, Jeff.
No worries.
It takes a long time to get traction. It takes a long time to, for the process to work. But it does work. If you stick with it for 9 months, a year, it does work 100% of the time. So 1 of 2 things is going to happen when they get started. So chances are you're going to stick them in a corner by themselves. People come and go. They have nobody else that's doing what they're doing. And let's say you're lucky and this person is working really hard. They're making, instead of $100 a day, they're making 120. And the next day they make 120. They're still, they're talking to some people, but they're not getting any traction yet because it takes a while to get, I'm going to talk about appointment, the challenge with appointment setting in a second. As this goes on a week, nobody really notices. Nobody's checking on them. They're just like, hey, how's it going, Jim? Oh, it's going great. And meanwhile, Jim's like, I'm coming in here busting my hump every day. I'm supposed to do 100. I'm doing 120. And then weeks go by, and then all of a sudden, he's like, nobody's noticing. So now he goes down to 100 dials per day. Well, nobody notices that they dropped. Still haven't gotten results yet because it takes a while to ramp up. And then the guy's like, well, nobody's noticed that I dropped. So now they're dropped to 80. Now they're on ESPN while you're not around. As soon as people leave the office, they're on, they're doing gaming. Nobody notices. So they're like, well, screw it. Nobody cares. Nobody seems to care if I work hard or work, do a crappy job. So what's my motivation? The other scenario is they just start off being crappy and they're making $25 a day. And, you say, how's it going? They're like, oh, great. It's going really good. And they're like, hey, I didn't do crap today. And I just fooled them. And this goes on for months and months and months. And they're like, this is the easiest job possible. Same thing. As soon as they scoot, they're like, doing gaming, checking out their social media. Don't waste your money.
Shopping,
online shopping, Amazon.com. So that's why you need a good inside sales manager. Problem is, a good inside sales manager is not going to manage one person. So you're probably going to have to hire 3. You really need like a team. So that's going to put you at the all-in $300,000, $500,000 mark just for bare minimum inside sales team. And to be honest with you, that's the only way that you're going to be able to your company's going to prospect, because the sales reps today are not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. I just don't hear from all the people that I talk to every single week. I talk to business owners, sales managers, big companies, small companies, medium companies. Nobody's telling me, yeah, I got this new salesperson. They're just killing it, prospecting like crazy, going out on sales calls, keeping all their notes organized. Customer service is great. No one, by the way, no one. So, and if you're not prospecting and you're just basically you're waiting for referrals, repeat business, and people going to Google. I laugh now. I literally laugh now. It's so crowded. I just, really, you're going to put content on your website. That's the strat. This is what all the big consultants are saying. You got to have content, people. This is what they say. This is insane. They say, buyers go to the internet and their buyer journey is they're going to do their research before they speak to a salesperson. So what is your strategy? You're just going to sit there with your hands behind your back. You're going to put out this great content, which, by the way, your competitors are putting out great content as well. They're hiring the same quality agencies that you are. You're doing all this work to pump out all this content to hope, and they're coming to Google. And meanwhile, as a buyer, I got all these little rabbit holes I could go down. Literally the probability, if because on any of these, my God, it's like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 different companies that you could get to on the first page of search engine results. But let's just narrow it down to 30. And let's say they look at 3 websites to do their research. Well, you have a 90% chance that they're not going to look at your stuff. And even if they looked at your stuff, even if in their buyer's journey they looked at stuff, they looked at other people's as well. So now you're just in a crapshoot as to whose content they like the best. It just doesn't seem like a viable strategy on its own. Obviously, you have to do it. But is that a differentiator? Mathematically, no. It's literally mathematically not a differentiator. When there's a 90% chance that they're never even going to read your content. 90%. And you got to think they're going to, if they're doing research, they're going to look at least 3 websites. You've got a 66% or whatever it is chance that they're going to like someone else's better than yours. This is pure math. You cannot, and I don't understand why people don't, it's all public information. It's all right there. And everybody's jumping on this, sort of content bandwagon like it's the be all and end all. It's just a baseline. It's you have to do it. You have to have that out there. But just sitting back with your hands behind your back, just hoping that they go to your website, that they read your content, that they like your content better than the others, and that maybe at some point way down the buying cycle, they give you a call. That's not a winning strategy by itself. That's a losing strategy. Mathematically, it's a losing strategy. You need the basic math skills to understand that mathematically today, that's a losing strategy. The smart strategy is to say, I'm going to identify a couple thousand minimum. Let's say, couple thousand of my best prospects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage those customers before they go to the internet, and I'm going to push content out to them. Oh, by the way, mathematically, 56% of the people that go to the internet and look at your website and download your content, 56% of those companies that you did all this work for, praying that they go to your website, praying that they download your content, 56% of those prospects have less than 5 employees. They're not prospects. 56%. 78% have less than 10 employees. So mathematically, it's more worser, as my English teacher would say, Jeff.
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
So how would yourself, or how would you recommend to any, I guess maybe a sales manager or just business leader, let's say, because I'd imagine a reason maybe why some sales reps might be slacking off or not wanting to make or go full
I don't think that sales reps are slacking off. I just don't think it's part of the culture anymore. I don't think that a good sales rep has the right skill set and mentality. It's kind of like in football, like trying to take somebody that's on the line.
Yeah.
Linesman is like big, beefy guy.
Right.
And making them a wide receiver, which those guys are normally fast and slender.
Gotcha.
They're just different body types, different, just mentally completely different people. I don't think it's that the sales reps are slacking off. I think, in the old days, you just, had to, tough it out. Now, even in the old days, the rock star sales reps were the ones that are good prospectors, good closers, good at following up, diligent. They're just elite people. There's very few of those. But anyway, I interrupted.
No. So it's a good point. So I guess, and then my question, it was pretty much about mentality too. So let's say there's a sales rep who, because I know probably some sales reps are maybe have some fear of the rejection, like you're mentioning, or
absolutely,
or that if maybe that could be the difference. The fear factor might be what's caused them from not making double the amount of calls that they do in a day. How would you motivate them or try to get them past that, or kind of, what advice would you give them if that's like their main? Because that could be the difference between Survivor and Rockstar there. Because like if you get them past that fear factor, they might be then just going all out.
Sure. Well, the first thing is I wouldn't leave cold calling and general lead nurturing or engagement marketing or account-based marketing up to a sales rep, because it's just the wrong personality type. Now, once a sales rep gets a lead, right? So let's say it's a trigger lead something has gone on where marketing has identified them as an opportunity and you want to give them to your sales rep. To eliminate the fear, what you want to do is make it easy for the sales rep. And what you want to do is you want to train them and say, look, first thing I want you to do is go to LinkedIn. Do you know someone? Right? Do you know someone directly that knows this person?
Right.
Or do you know someone who knows this person? Now, if you're pretty well established, you probably have a connection, especially if your territory is a single marketplace that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell the story about we wanted to get a meeting with the CEO of this big software company, went to LinkedIn, didn't realize one of my cousins
Right.
was the executive assistant to the CEO of this
Right.
company. Had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So we just called up, Maura, hey Larry, what's going on? We'd like to meet with Greg. Oh, okay. How about Wednesday for lunch? Okay. So that was it. The other thing to make it easy for them, because the fear of rejection, is go to the company's internet, to their website, and find something interesting on their website to talk to them about, to ask them about. So it makes it easier, it takes it off, because you're coming with a gift. You don't want to show up and throw up. You don't want to show up and be like, I'm the best. We're the best. Do you need our services? Too often sales reps are just like, they just blurt out, like, do you need IT services? No. Okay. Bad lead. What? But that's what they literally do. I'm calling. Do you need IT services? Do you want to switch your vendor? No, stop. Yeah. It's not about you.
Right.
Or they'll call up and they're like, we're the number one, whatever it is, moving company or IT services or HR or payroll services or staffing company in the Philadelphia. Nobody cares.
Right.
So, but if you call up and you say, hey, Jeff, I was just looking at your website. I noticed that you just moved the largest law firm in Cincinnati. Congratulations on that. How did you manage to swing that deal? So go with a gift. That makes it easier. And then also tell them, like, look, chances are you're going to get a voicemail and email. That's your advantage. Because if you're terrible at that first conversation, just simply call and leave a voicemail. Right. And the voicemail is really simple. Hi, my name is Larry Dillon. I work with Larry's Payroll Services here in Cincinnati. We service small and large businesses. We've been doing this for 30 years. I just sent you an email that says payroll services, and it's got a list of my name, all my details, and what we do. I don't know if you're in the market right now, but if you are, maybe take a look at that.
Gotcha. So
just be polite, respectful, be really honest, transparent, clear why you're calling. I'm calling because I want to sell you IT services, or I want to sell you payroll services. But leave that voicemail, and the idea is allow the customer to call you when they're ready, but I'm constantly going to call them back and just remind them, hey, it's Larry again. Just wanted to give you a courtesy reminder. Hey, I just saw an article, but always have a gift for them. Hey, I just saw an article on how to save 10% on payroll taxes. Whatever it is. Right. I just sent you that email. I hope you find it useful. Listen, I'll follow up in a month or 2 weeks, depending on whatever the sales cycle is for that particular opportunity.
So it's like rapport first, sell second type of deal.
Just tell them what you do. That's all.
Yeah.
Just tell them what you do.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Right. But you don't want to shove it in their faces.
No, just tell them what you do. It's really that simple. And then, you get into this argument, with sales reps. They're like, well, I don't like always leaving a voicemail. Sometimes I do. Leave the voicemail. Stop it. Just leave a voicemail. Send an email 100% of the time. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do 2 voicemails in a day, but once, I'll do an initial call, and then I'll say, listen, I'm going to follow up next week to make sure. And the reason I'm doing that is, and listen, if you're nervous, you don't even want to talk to them. You just want to, like, oh, I'm sure Jeff's busy. Could I have his voicemail, please? If you're that nervous, just do that. And then the cool thing is that if you consistently do that, they'll be like, yeah, I am ticked off at my current payroll services. I'm going to keep this guy's number. And then you call them like 3 months later. I'm like, oh, it's that guy again. Yeah, you know what? I'm not happy with my payroll services. And then on the fourth one, they're like, you know what? Today's the day. This is the final straw. They screwed this up. I'm going to call Larry from Larry's Payroll Services. That's how it happens. Every day, every month. We've been doing this for 30 years, and it works. It works. If you put out the calls, you're going to get business back. You just are. It's never happened. My number one sales rep sells significantly more. Literally, you can gauge by the number of prospecting calls that she makes, right? So if she's 50% above the next person, she's literally just making 50% more calls.
Right.
We literally can pull it down from the phone bill.
Yeah.
It's literally that simple. The more calls you make, the more people you reach out to, the more strangers you introduce yourself to and keep in touch with forever, the more business you'll bring in. It's really simple. It works. And especially now, you got to think about it because, my God, every time I go back to Google and I look, I'm like, how did they stuff more ads, more stuff, more junk on that first page?
I want to tell you a really quick story. I think you might find it interesting. So after, listening to your podcast from behind the scenes over here, I've been, just kind of gathering information that you and other guests have mentioned. And one of the new sales reps we have, he was mentioning to me, he was trying to memorize, he's trying to gather information or like how to prepare for getting on the phone. And he was like, oh, I don't know. I'm struggling. I'm normally really good with this. It's just under pressure. I don't know. And I was like, here, give me a second. And then I was like, let me ask you a question. So I'm just curious myself because I know Larry was, in his videos and whatever. I was like, so what is it? Like, what is it supposed to be? Like, I think I remember like the short form of the discussion Larry's mentioning. Like, you do like you want to call in and leave a voicemail and email, and then you want to do that. You do that multiple times a day, or I think we do that. Was it every other day? And he was like, no. You do it this way and this way. That's not what it is. I mean, that's good short version, but there's more detail to it. And do this and this. And I was like, oh, okay. I just wasn't sure. And then I was like, and then wasn't it how many like companies in the area? Like was it like 100 or how many out of is actually in your market? And he was like, no, that's not right. It's this amount, and that's how many you actually are going to end up in your market and who you want to actually nail and talk to. I was like, oh, I thought it was something different. I don't know. And then like, so do we have you call it or does somebody else call it or whatever? Basically, I was just saying information, and I was saying information wrong on purpose, or like I was like pretending like I didn't know anything. And then he just went into this whole spiel like effortlessly or whatever, and I was like, congratulations, you've nailed it, you got it down. And he was like, you know what, Jeff? He was like, I think I can do it.
Yeah, it is. It's nerve-wracking for people, like getting on the phone. It's a difficult thing. And the problem is that your average sales manager is not an expert at coaching people in this. And that comes from a lot of experience, and it ain't easy.
Yeah,
it ain't easy. So, it's a difficult thing, and it's the thing that people struggle with the most. Literally, I was speaking to the VP of Sales, $100 million company the other day. Same thing. Knows that they need to prospect more, knows they need to, if they're not introducing themselves every single day to new prospects, and they have an extensive web presence, an unbelievable website, that's not going to get them there. And they're spending millions on the website. I'm just not sure if they're getting the results, the incremental results.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to do that. But it's not going to get you to where you want to get.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It never will.
Yeah.
But an effective inside sales team will. So you either got to bring that in-house or outsource it. So I want to talk about appointment setting for a second. We appoint, and the reason that I wanted to talk about this today is because I had a great conversation with a VP of sales the other day. And he was saying that he's like, I'm the VP of sales now, and I've got 20 sales reps. And I remember what it was like when I was in sales. Like, they would set an appointment for me, and they're like, oh, good. Well, this isn't mine. He was really honest. He's like, this isn't my appointment. I didn't set this. And what I've observed is sales reps' first reaction to an appointment that is set for them, for some bizarre reason, their number one objective is to disqualify that appointment. It is the strangest thing. And I've observed this, but talking to this VP of sales and him going into this rant about, like, it's not mine. I didn't set it. Who is this? Why should I do this? I don't want to call them. They're not good. Like, he went on and on and on. He says, even myself, when I had appointments set for me, didn't want it. And a light bulb went off. And that's the problem with appointment setting, because I've, getting past that mentality of looking for the slightest reason to disqualify. And there are some great appointment setting companies out there. But the challenge is that the sales reps are going to, and then the second they get a legitimately, whatever you want to call it, bad appointment, then that rifles through the whole company. They're like, yeah, it was terrible. It was the wrong geography, the wrong type of company, the wrong contact, and it's riddled with problems. And I think that's, I know a lot of companies that have gone down that route and have been unsuccessful. And from talking to this VP, he said, yeah, the problem with appointment setting, even internally, is that the person who is setting the appointments has a quota. Like, they have to literally, I have to hit this many appointments. And there may not be that many prospects, no matter how many, because you can only make so many dials per day, that you uncover. So what you do is you strong arm somebody into the appointment. And those are the appointments where the sales rep will call the person or drive out to their location. They'll be like, I don't remember setting this. Literally, they'll say, I didn't never set this, or I don't remember setting this. Now all of a sudden the salesperson's on his heels. But then when you listen to the tape of the conversation, that very same prospect said, yes, okay, you can have a salesperson stop by on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. It's literally in the recording. But when they get there, the prospect forgot. So the prospect is wrong. The appointment setter was right, but it still doesn't work. Yeah. What are you going to do? Play back the recording to the prospect? You're in a very awkward situation there. What do you do? What happens is, and listen, that happens so many times, more often than not. The other problem is you'll have sales reps that will call up before the appointment and say, well, are you guys really interested? Well, I don't know. We're just thinking about it at this point. Okay, boom. And then he'll give the feedback to his boss. Will say, hey, how was that appointment with the ABC company? Oh, I called them. They're not interested at all. That's what literally I've known some people in the appointment setting business, and this is a constant battle with the sales team that just wants to, I don't know why. It just happens. But even appointments that you set for yourself, sometimes you go out and they're duds. But it's a challenge because it's a forced situation. And it leads to this whole dynamic of like the sales team versus the appointment setting team, because you're trying to force the appointment maybe when it's not exactly the moment that they want to talk to someone about it.
Right.
So that's the challenge with trying to set the appointment. I think a better strategy is to just engage the customers through voicemail, through email, through direct mail. Just engage, get that group of customers, constantly engage with them. And guess what? If you continually engage with them, at exactly the moment they want to talk to a sales rep in an appointment, they'll call you. It happens every single month here. There's thousands of companies we never get in touch with that we leave voicemails with every single quarter. And then we literally never talk to them. And some of them just email over like, hey, you guys are really on the ball. Yeah, I want to go ahead and sign up for the program. So sometimes we don't even talk to them. But it definitely works. I mean, and you could sit down with, especially with rockstar sales reps or who do this, and they'll tell you stories. Mm-hmm. But the challenge is that sales reps just don't have the time or the aptitude or whatever to do that kind of prospecting. But if you do it, it definitely works. Right. So you want to figure out how do you set that up? And I would caution you on trying to shove appointments down, whether that's outsourced or internal, the salesperson's throat. It's kind of the challenge isn't that you're connecting with legitimate companies. The challenge is the sales reps, the sales team's objective will be to kill the appointment setters. I've seen it so often. Like, they don't want to be told what to do. That's the other thing. It's a weird thing. Like, this VP of sales just went off on the pitfalls of someone else setting their appointment. They're like, I got my own people. I don't want to. Mm-hmm. Like, he just went one riffed for like 10 minutes on why sales reps don't like other people setting appointments for them. Mm-hmm. It's difficult, and it's also imperfect, and prospects, will say one thing one day and another thing the next day. It's just hard to get through that. But but the consistent message that I get from companies, the rock stars have figured it out. They've separated sales and prospecting. They have a different team, whether it's outsourced or internal. And they just know. They know they're just going to crush it. And they know they can just dial it up. And they know they have the long-term view. And it's so consistent that that's the thing that separates the high achievers, the elite, in terms of scaling their business from the average. It's just obvious to me. Just really obvious. And more so now because of what's happened with Google. that there's so much stuff on the first page that it's no longer a differentiator.
Mm.
And everybody's been buying into this, for the last 10 years. People are like, you have to engage them in their buyer's journey. 80% of the sale is done before, the research is done before they reach out to a salesperson.
Mm.
That's a weak stance. I'm just, okay. Those are the stats. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to, with my 20% chance that, my small percentage of chance that they're going to reach out to my website and be the right size and type of company that I want to do business with. It's literally mathematically insane. It's mathematically insane. You have to do it. I'm not saying that you don't have to do it. You absolutely have to do it. And to the extent that everyone else is a lemming and they're going to do exactly the same thing, well, sure, maybe if you're in the top, you're not going to get a third of the traffic. It's just never going to happen.
Mm.
There's just too many players on there. There are too many rabbit holes the buyer can go down. And there are too many people that have pumped up the content on their website. It's just not going to happen. But reaching out to a group of companies, and let's go through it mathematically. We already went through the math. Your odds are abysmal at finding the right person at the right time. You're finding, my stance, the wrong time, that they're 80% through the buyer's journey. Oh, do I really want that? Where they've been influenced by all my competitors' content? Well, my competitors' content is going to drive them to their solution. Let's say in typical B2B, the probability out of 1,000 companies that they are going to need your product or service this year is somewhere between 2% and 10%, between 2 and 10%. So let's say it's 5%. So if I engage 1,000 companies today, there's 5% chance they're already in that buyer's journey and they're already looking at my competitor's website and they're pulling down content. 5% versus waiting for Google, 100% of them are already on the buyer's journey, right? This is all math. Yeah. This is just pure logic. But if I reach out to 1,000 random companies, not random, but like my best prospects, and I know that the percentage, and if you have trouble figuring out what percentage of companies are in the market for your product or service, just give us a call. We can help you figure that out. But 5% is a good number. And look at this math. It's just really simple. You can't, there's no wiggle room on this. It's mathematics. So 5% are going to buy this year. So 5% are on that buyer's journey. They're going out to Google. They're pulling out content. 95% or 950 out of the 1,000 are not on the buyer's journey. They're not going to change this year. That means that if I prospect to those 1,000 companies every single quarter for a year, they're 950 out of the 1,000 that I engaged before they go to the internet. 95% I'm engaging before they think about going to the internet. And for those that I can get 4 phone calls, 4 emails, 4 pieces of content that I can push out over the course of the year before they even think about going to the internet, I'm the number one content provider to them. Not only have I provided content, I'm leaving a voicemail. Hey, Jeff, I don't know if you're in the market for payroll services, but I just sent you a great article, a white paper that we wrote on 5 ways you can save on your payroll this year. I'll follow up with you next quarter. Next quarter comes. Hey, Jeff, great article from a big consulting firm on tax savings for payroll. Just sent that to you. Hope you find it useful. Next quarter. Hey, Jeff, we just wrote an article on 5 things that you should consider before you change payroll services. Next quarter. So I'm pushing out all this content. There's a 95% chance I've caught them before they've gone to the internet. And my goal, my objective should be is my content is so strong, my follow-up is so perfect, they don't even think about going to the internet for research. How can you dispute the facts that I've just outlined? Mm-hmm. There's a 95%, minimum 95% chance. The probability that they even go to your website is so small, and that the fact that 78% of those companies have less than 10 employees. What are you doing? Shoot holes in my math. Don't believe my math. Do your research on your own. You just got to figure out those key things. I believe 80% of the buyer's journey is completed before they reach out to a sales rep. That's if you do nothing. I believe that 100%. And that's what this math is all about, is that the ones that do go, you got to be delusional. If you think 100% of the people that are interested in buying payroll services go to the website and click on yours and yours only, you're out of your mind. And chances are, if you're in B2B, it's only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%. Even if it was 10%, that still means 90%. Your goal should be to push the content to that person before they need it. Now, I know, here's the math again, and let's say it's 5%. So I know there's 50 in there that haven't gone to the internet that I'm going to be the first person to reach out to them. 100%. And because I'm selecting the group of contacts, they're all the right size, they're all the right geography, they're all the right industry. This is not complicated math, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm literally reaching out to 50 prospects, if it's a 5% are going to buy this year. And I'm going to be the first person, literally by math, to push a piece of content to them. And if I follow up next quarter, I've just really separated myself, because most sales reps don't make 2 calls. And the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So that person out of that 950, those folks that a year from now would start their buyer search, I've had 4 interactions with them. 4 pieces of content, 4 voicemails, 4 emails with content. Which is the better strategy? You got to do all the Google ads, because 80% of the buyer's journey is done before they reach out to you. If you buy into that and just sit back and say, well, I guess that's just the way it is, think about it differently. That's not a strong view. Yeah. And that's why the most successful, the fastest growing, have figured out this inside prospecting, inside account-based marketing, inside engagement marketing, inside lead nurturing type of program. So you have to figure out how you're going to do that. It is managing. I will say that putting together and managing an inside sales team, trying to find it really good. First off, finding good inside salespeople is a nightmare. That's difficult. But that key hire, if you're that, 25, 50, $150 million company, and you're going to take the dive, it's also difficult finding that inside sales manager. And just be prepared to, if they're not working out, to just cut them loose. But the problem is it really takes at least a full year to start to get ramped up. Probably 2 or 3 years to get to full speed. It just does. And that's an advantage because if your competition wants to cover you, it's going to take them that period of time to get caught up. Because there's nothing you can do in the first month that can equal, let's say you're doing 2,000 calls a quarter. There's nothing you can do that first quarter that equals the fourth voicemail and email and content pushing a year from now. They're not the same. They're not. It's just very different.
Yeah.
Because now you're top of mind. You're like, when they think of payroll services, you're going to be the first person that they think of. And also, because you've established trust, you've established yourself as the consultant, you've separated yourself. There's no one else, they're not really looking at other people's content. You're going to be able to get that piece of business at a higher price versus 80% of the buying decision has already been made before they speak to a salesperson. I'm going to argue that that's going to get you a lower price, a much lower price. Because they got all this stuff in their mind. Now they're in the competitive, sort of pricing mode. And they're just going to try to beat you up on price. You haven't separated yourself. You haven't established yourself as a consultant because your content looks, by the way, your content looks just like everyone else's. And because they're digesting it at their will, then you have no control over that. I don't know. This is not complicated math, is it, Jeff?
No, not at all.
You don't have to be an engineer to figure this out.
No.
The math doesn't lie, and that's mathematically one of the reasons why an inside prospecting team, an inside account-based marketing, when I talk about these things, because we really view that you shouldn't just be doing account-based marketing. You want to take the best. We've kind of taken the best of all three worlds. Like, what's the best part of account-based marketing? What's the best part of lead nurturing? What's the best part of engagement marketing? So anyway, that's the math.
Yeah.
And I hope that helps to illustrate the value and the power of reaching out to companies before they think about going to the internet. And you literally just, once you figure out what percentage of companies this year are interested in, looking for a change. Like, for instance, we were at a convention at Robin Robbins. She said, I think the stat that she said it was 3% of companies will switch their IT services company. So if you reach out to 1,000 best prospects in your market, that means 970 you've reached them before they've gone to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep in touch with them over the next 5 or 10 years, and the longer down the road you go, the stronger your relationship with them, even if you don't talk to them.
All right.
I don't know. Seems pretty easy. Seems pretty easy. So that's it. So don't figure out that inside sales team. Do not rely on sales reps to do the prospecting. You can try to push them as much as you want. They're usually the wrong personality type, the wrong player. Beware of trying to shove appointments down sales reps' throats. I don't know if that's the best strategy to try to just push it down. If you are going down that route, it's going to be a lot of time, a lot of back and forth and picking through each one, because in B2B, one opportunity could be $1 million deal. And you don't want to miss out on that $1 million deal just because your sales rep is like, this VP of sales was like, he had like a physical part of it. Like physically, he was like, well, that's not my deal. Like, he was literally like using his hands to like push it aside. Like, I'm going to DQ this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And my observation is they try to DQ. That doesn't mean that you're not going to set appointments for your reps, but be ready to listen to the tapes, dig in as a sales manager. You have to dig in, because if that's $1 million deal and your sales rep is pulling a hissy fit, then either take them out of it, give it to someone else, but you better have a strategy and don't assume. Do not take the sales reps at their word for the disposition of an appointment.
Yeah.
Don't. You got to roll up your sleeves or pay for all that work and have the $1 million deal go to one of your competitors because your sales rep is like this. Like, literally, like, this VP of sales was like going through all these gestures, like, oh, it's not mine. Like, it was very physical. Like, he's demonstrating physically that wants nothing to do with an appointment set by someone else, even though it's to their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Larry, why is that? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But that is the reality. I've seen it so often where here's the recording. They said they were definitely interested. They definitely wanted to speak to a sales rep. Well, I called them and they said, and then more example. So then we called back the prospect and said, did you speak to John, the salesperson? They're like, no one from your company called. We were waiting. We were wondering why they didn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, that sales rep said, I called the prospect. They said they weren't interested, so I didn't go in the appointment. That's not a rare. That is not a rare occurrence. You have paid. Sometimes people will pay like $600, $1,000, $2,000 for an appointment, and your sales rep says, I called them and they said they weren't interested. And it's a lie. It literally is a lie, because now what you have to do, based on the information I just gave you, you now have to call back in to the prospect and say, did you speak to John? Mm-hmm. You'll be shocked at what happens. It's very problematic. So it just isn't easy.
Right.
It isn't easy. Yeah. So, and that's why having, and you got to go through that, because you can't afford to lose out on a 100,000, 500,000, million, multi-million. Literally, like, I've seen little leads that were disqualified. I told you the lead where this furniture company bought our leads down in DC, and there was a new rep that was getting appointments. He's actually setting his own appointments. Still illustrates the point. And one of the experienced rep was like, oh, this is a bad lead. This is a bad lead. And he says, well, can I have your dead leads? Mm-hmm. She's like, sure, they're junk. So he calls this one up, follows up, does, I think he said like 4 months of follow-up.
Wow. Rejection.
And finally they're like, oh yeah, we are buying furniture. Come on out. They lied.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why would they lie? I don't know why that's not the point. Shut up. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. They lie. Stop it. Buyers are liars. So goes out on the appointment, closes the deal. Deal is so big. He's living in the Virginia side of DC, very expensive suburbs. Pays cash for a house with a commission check at 25, 26. Paid cash for a very expensive home with the check that he got from the commission from the deal.
Wow.
It was disqualified by an experienced salesperson. So, but what does work is if you continually prospect, and you got to look at 2-3 years where it really starts to hum up. I mean, you should be able to more than pay for the program within the first year, but it's not going to be the first quarter, second, third. Mm-hmm. But by the now, I mean, we've had cases where clients have, done something like this, outsourced the inside sales process and popped a deal in the first month that was a crazy number, but I wouldn't bank on that. But what I would bank on is that if you keep with it, it's going to be one of the best things that you've ever done to grow your business. And your competition won't do it because they're too weak. And they won't spend the money and they won't stick it out. So if you're not going to stick it out, just save your money and be satisfied with your mediocre growth. I shouldn't say that. It's terrible. But you're missing out on opportunity if you don't have that inside sales team, because sales reps are not good at following up on leads. But at least if you have an inside sales team, at least it's the inside salesperson that's going to be like, John, come on. I called the customer back. At least you as the sales manager don't have to do that. Mm-hmm. The problem with the outsourcing company is that the sales reps will get into a mode, and I've seen this, where they're going to try to kill the outsourcing company. At least if it's an outsourced inside sales team versus an outsourced appointment setting team, they're kind of working as a team because they don't have a quota. You don't want to push. As soon as you start getting like, we have to have this many appointments per month, that's when you're going to get really heavy into this, because, even a good appointment setter is going to, I can strong arm people into agreeing to an appointment, and then, but it's not really the right time. So that's just my advice. But it's very powerful, and it always works in the long run. Not in the short run, but in the long run, it always works. So hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Click the like button. Send us comments. Also, if you have someone that you want us to interview, please let us know. Really appreciate it.
Subscribe.
Thank you, Jeff. You just earned your stripes today.
Awesome.
So, great. Well, thank you very much. This has been Larry Dillon, CEO of the Wendover Corporation. This is the Scalable Insights Podcast. Thank you.